Hello, everybody.
Hi, Margie.
Hi, how's everybody? Good.
Fantastic.
All right. This is our Merrillville Plan Commission meeting, Tuesday, July the 16th, 2024. And we will all stand and pledge the flag, like good Americans. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Continuing on with the agenda, will the secretary please take the roll call?
Luke Rich. Mr. Holtz.
Here.
Ms. Chandler Felton.
Present.
Mr. Daring.
Here.
Madam Chairman.
Here.
Myself. And Mr. Pettit.
Are you here, Chris?
Yes, I am.
I'm here too.
That's 6 present. We have a quorum, Madam Chairman.
Yes, we do. We have a quorum, so we can continue on with the meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 21st?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any communications? Oh, all those in favor of the minutes being approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam
Opposed?
Chairman, I'd like to say that Mr. Rich is present.
Very good, thank you.
Evening, Luke.
Hello, Mr. Rich. Okay. Minutes are approved. No objections. Okay, now on communications, do we have any communications?
No, not at this time.
No communications? Thank you, Sheila. Okay, I have no comments. I'm the chairman, and I see we have a lot of people in the room, so we will get on with the meeting, okay? Is there any old business?
Oh, ma'am.
Any new business? Nope. Okay, I will go on to item 1, P4Z1-0724. Karis Acquisition LLC petitioner and Indiana Land Trust Company, trust number 123026, owner, located at the northeast corner of 101st and Deep River, request a zone change from A1 agricultural zoning district to CIS commercial industrial special zoning district. The purpose is a proposed data center. Okay, is the lawyer present?
Good evening, Richard Anderson.
Okay, Richard.
He's passing out.
Okay, this will be mine.
I've had a lot of
So she's gonna be mine.
it is.
Richard
Okay,
Anderson.
Richard,
Thank you.
Richard Anderson, 9211 Broadway, Merrillville, Indiana. I'm here tonight with, hold on one second.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight with Ms. Ivy Miller, who's passing out the paper. She's one of the Karis Acquisition representatives. They have Matt Eagle, who's also up there tonight passing out. He's with Manhart Consulting. I'm hopefully that, and I also have David Dix in the audience, who will also be speaking with regard to Karis. And then I have Patrick Thompson, who's a consultant for Karis. So hopefully between all of us, we'll be able to answer the questions that came up at the study session. So as we talked about before, the owner of the property is Indiana Land Trust 123026. The petitioner is Karis Acquisitions LLC. The location is 101st Avenue east of Deep River. As shown on the drawing behind you and in front of you is a site surrounding map from Google, which basically shows all the industrial CSI zoning to the west of the proposed site. Now, the Google drawing does not show the most recent buildings that have been built on the east side of Mississippi on the north. It's not quite there yet, but as you can see, that basically the subject site backs up against that property. So Between Deep River and Mississippi are the other new buildings, and that's all now been zoned CSI. So just give you a perspective. The size of this land is 177.887 acres. It's currently zoned A1. The petition is to rezone the property from C/IS to Commercial Industrial Special District. The purpose, because part of that zoning requires that the exact purpose be specified in the ordinance, is a data center. And the definition, as I've indicated previously, is a large group of network computer servers typically used by organizations for the remote storage, processing, distribution of large amounts of data. The petitioner's representatives are going to speak now as far as their background, the company's background, and also a little bit about what the value of this project is. Thank you.
Good evening, board, staff. My name is David Dix. I'm Vice President of Development for Caris. I'm joined tonight by Ivy Miller, Development Manager for Caris. Caris, we are an industrial, cold storage, and data center developer with projects in the Midwest, Southeast, and Colorado. We have about $1.5 billion in current development, in the current development pipeline over the next 18 months. This represents cold storage projects in Chicagoland area, and then you can see it on the slide all across the Southeast. We're also in the process of acquiring approximately 1,500 acres for prospective data center use. Based on our proposed 9-building preliminary site plan totaling 2.25 million square feet, we are estimating a Caris investment well over $100 million per building. This whole project is really largely dependent on NIPSCO's ability to deliver on their power commitment.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for allowing me to be here today. I'm Matt Eagle. I'm a civil engineer working on the project. I'm going to quickly run through some of the existing conditions of the site and then talk about some of the proposed utility connections, and then hand it back off to Richard. So as Richard said, it's a 177-acre property. It's at the northeast corner of East 101st and Deep River. The current zoning is A1 agricultural, and we'd be looking to rezone to C-IS. I have a zoning map on the slide up on the screen right now. In terms of perimeter roadways and site access, East 101st Avenue is the south frontage of the site. There's a small portion of the northeast corner of the site that does front Colorado Street. And currently there's a single gravel access drive that's off of East 101st. It's actually an access to an existing lift station that's owned by MCD, Merrillville Conservancy District. Water is owned and regulated by Indiana American Water Company. There's an existing 16-inch water main along East 101st, and it actually dead ends at the intersection of 101st and Deep River. Storm sewer is regulated by the town of Merrillville and also the Merrillville Stormwater Utility. There's no existing storm sewer on site, and the site generally drains toward Deep River, and Deep River conveys water from the southwest corner of the site to the northeast corner of the site. A couple more utilities. So sanitary sewer, as I mentioned, was owned and regulated by Merrillville Conservancy District. There's currently an existing 12-inch sanitary sewer that enters the site at the south and then runs to the existing lift station that's located just off the site in the northwest corner. That lift station then directs sanitary sewage to the northeast of the property and then eventually into Gary Sanitary District. Electric is kind of the main selling points for the site. So there's currently a 138 kilovolt high power transmission line that bisects the site, which is controlled by NIPSCO. And then the telecommunications are within the AT&T and Comcast service areas. This is kind of a recap of what Richard had mentioned, just the request to rezone from A1 to CIS. In the proposed condition, which is the site plan that most of you have up there, there's actually a second site plan right here. We're proposing our main access to be off of East 101st Avenue with an auxiliary entrance all the way on the east corner of the site, which would just be used for emergency access. Water, we've been engaged with Indiana American Water. The concept would be to extend the existing water main that exists in 101st further to the east to service the site. It would duck under Deep River. Sanitary sewer for Merrillville Conservancy District, we've also been in contact with Brian Muller and his group so that they can look at the existing capacity of the lift station that's on the site. Storm sewer, I've had some preliminary conversations with Matt Lake, with the town. The concept would be to drain water to Deep River, which is where the current storm water is draining. And then electric, again, would be provided by NIPSCO. And then my final slide here, this is just a touch on some of the surrounding impacts from more of a site planning perspective. So the concept plan is designed to meet all the minimum setbacks of the CIS district. The closest building, which is shown in the SNP in the bottom right corner of that slide, is Building 7, and that's roughly 500 feet from the nearest residential neighbor to the south. We would be planting street trees, 40-foot on center along East 101st, and also a 3-foot tall berm with hedges along East 101st. One thing that's interesting to note with data centers, they're a lot less traffic heavy compared to something like a warehouse or a distribution center use. Roughly 5 times less than a warehouse distribution center for traffic, and 2 times less than residential. And then, of course, we'll have to comply with the town noise ordinance as well. Richard?
So basically, we want to stress from the proposed plan is a tentative plan, which is what's required under the zoning ordinance. The other things, so basically there'll be another hearing, probably a PUD because it's multiple buildings in which this will be addressed again as far as how the site lays out. Right now, we're at the point of land use, so we're basically asking for land use. And as part of that land use, because of the items that were passed out tonight, there was passed out a written zoning commitment, which is provided, and the purpose of that is because NIPSCO provides the power. If you go back to the first slide, or the second slide I think we had, you kind of see where the power, you can see the line that he's talking about is right there. That's the NIPSCO line as to why this site is very conducive for this particular project. And NIPSCO, this team is working with NIPSCO. The town is trying to assist us with NIPSCO, but that's one of the issues here from a timing standpoint as far as whether or not they can, these data centers are very hungry for power. And because of that, it's probably going to be done in phases. There was some question of that last time, I think, and we're looking, it doesn't have to be phased if NIPSCO has the power. If NIPSCO doesn't have the power, then there would be some phasing. So because the zoning ordinance talks in terms of 2 years before you get a building permit, or you could be subject to being reverted. And that's actually what happened to this site, because this site was zoned residential back in the 90s, and it reverted back to agriculture as a result of nothing being done. So the purpose of the zoning commitment is just to extend it for 2 more years so that we know that we have 4 years to get the full power that we need from NIPSCO to do this. And so that's the reason. And so basically what we're seeking from you tonight is a positive recommendation to the town council for rezoning the property to C/IS which is a special district. And I should point out, the other ones that you've done in this area, they've always gone to the BZA first, so you're used to seeing the BZA handle this before it comes here. The reason this isn't going to the BZA first is because the other sites were less than 100 acres. This is 100 acres, and the ordinance says you must be 100 acres or more. This is 177. So just to clarify that.
Same thing we did with silos, Rich,
Yes. Right.
because they had 195 acres.
Yeah.
So the team will be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Let me start with the board. Mr. Rich, questions and comments?
Nothing at this time.
Nothing at this time? Mr. Rick Holt, questions or comments?
You showed that you were 500 feet from the houses to the south, but how close will you be to the house to the east?
About 500, and I can provide a follow-up on that with the exact dimension.
And it will be screened, because the ordinance provides for the 3-foot berm and then hedges on top of that.
I think before you said you're gonna be putting fences around the whole,
For security, I think we talked about that, yes. But in addition, you have to have the berm for beautification between residential and industrial.
the NIPSCO, right now you're saying they don't know if they have enough electricity to provide you guys?
We're currently working with NIPSCO. It requires a feasibility study, and we are working through the parameters of that study right now.
You've already looked at the possibility of what the detention, how much water you have to hold on to the site?
Yes, this site does have detention laid out, so we're looking at one basin kind of in the southeast corner, and then two smaller ones, kind of zooming in on the slides, in the southwest. And then the site does drain to the north, so we're also providing detention in a separate basin up here at the north. Also gives a little bit of a buffer from the adjacent land.
And all that would be calculated as part of the PUD and be confirmed.
Yeah, correct.
I just want to make sure the CSI, is that, since everything else is shown M1, will be an M1, Sheila?
I'm sorry.
I think the map that we showed wasn't quite up to date.
So,
because
yes,
basically it is all CSI now.
It's all CSI over there. I sent my map out to be updated, and Butler, Fairman, and Seaford has updated it, and they should be interactive in a couple of weeks, Jay told me.
Okay. All right, no other questions at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Leona Chandler, Belton.
I have no,
Questions, comments?
no questions at this point.
Did you look it over?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Brian Deering?
Okay, guys, first to start, your 3 detention areas look great. The distance to the road is a good distance. The questions I have, number one, I think that there is a concern by people that there might be noise associated with this. Now, where I work, we have large data servers. They are highly insulated in our building, and unless you're in the room, you really can't hear anything. So do you plan on affording the same type of insulation? I know you have to keep things cold, but do you afford the same type of insulation so that there is no appreciable decibel rise out there to annoy any of the neighbors?
Sure, we plan on meeting all noise ordinances. We can use sound walls to make sure that that noise stays within the site.
Within the site, okay.
And we do have an ordinance.
Right, and also we have a dark skies ordinance, so that all of your lighting would be kept on site. It wouldn't bleed onto surrounding properties. Traffic, I'm not so worried about because you're not gonna generate much traffic. You're not going to have that many employees there day in and day out. There isn't gonna be any really heavy truck traffic once you're built out. Please, you'll have a chance to speak later. This is all the commission now. When we open up the meeting for public hearing, then you can speak. And we don't yell questions from the audience. You have to come up front. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you're Merrillville residents, each resident can speak. If you're not a Merrillville resident, we ask that you choose a representative to speak for your group. Now, besides that, I would like to see some really good screening. I know that we have the berm. You said medium-height street trees. I'd like to see a mix. I'd like to see large trees, medium trees, small trees, the berm, everything to make it look like a country setting so that when you drive by, the neighbors aren't looking at just the blank side of a building. My favorite phrase is they would be looking at the southbound view of a northbound horse. I expect that the buildings will be made attractive from the street and that as much screening. Your fencing, I understand that around the back side, the north side, you can use large fencing for there, but on the 101st side, I personally would like to see a decorative fence of some kind erected. Since this is going to be a PUD, you can go over the 6 to 8 feet, okay? So when you start putting in your fencing, what faces the neighbors will be an attractive product, rather than just chain link or barbed wire, which is not allowed, obviously.
And that's
Again, your detention ponds could be a real feature out there. You could really open up those detention ponds to make them look attractive. Like I say, as long as you control the noise, as long as you can prove to control the noise factor, whether it be from the exterior cooling systems, okay, or the servers themselves, I think, it's a viable project. I was here when, was it Precision had this property back in, no. DVG had this project back in the, before the downturn of '08. We had a large mixed-use development planned over there, and of course, like many businesses, they were gone after the big recession starting in '08. Your neighbors to the west, your neighbors to the north are going to be industrial. It's what's there now. But we want to make sure that, especially facing 101st, that an attractive product is put up so they're just not looking at a slab side warehouse. And that's about all I've got.
All that, I think, can be taken into consideration at the time that the PUD.
Sure.
Because that's all kind of part of the PUD. Because, again, this is more land use, but I think they can take that back now, what you're telling them, so that when we get to the PUD phase, we can try to meet that.
Very good.
I was just gonna add one thing on the sound, because I just want to mention, a lot of the times, the actual equipment yards and the substations are what generates a lot of the noise. So we're aware of the surrounding neighborhoods and situated the substations so that they're to the northwest of the site. So kind of up in the upper left corner, closer to Deep River versus being closer to the street.
Well, I know our substation out there on Mississippi Street, north of 73rd, does not generate much noise at all. What I'm worried about is basically how much hum will be heard outside of the building from the actual servers themselves. And again, because of the extreme cooling that you'll have to put in, how much additional noise will be heard from the cooling system. I'm looking at one building here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 high vacs on top of that building. How much noise and how do you contain that noise? That's all I've got, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Continuing on, Chris Mellon, questions, comments?
Nothing at this time, Madam Chairman.
Nothing?
No.
You're looking it over pretty close?
Yeah, I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Sean Pettit, questions, comments?
Questions, comments from the ward councilman? Of
Yeah.
course, Margie,
I am
you know
sorry.
me better than that.
This is the ward councilman for that ward.
Let's go through some things, because I have met, Angie Chilcott and I have met with Patrick Thompson already on a couple occasions. I think Sheila might have been in on the second meeting. As Brian, and this is more for the residents of Summer Tree, because I know they're on that out there right now. The gentleman from Manhart, you're right next to that gray tilted house out there. Used to be a guy named Eldred Brown. He passed away. There's a new property owner out there. I don't know if they're in the audience. Next to that is the Reynolds farm, or the Reynolds property. After the election, Margie, I got a call from the daughter. Mary Ann and Gordon have passed away. The daughter called me, said, would the town consider rezoning my mom and dad's property to industrial? This is while silos was going on. So there's an interest by one of the property owners. Talked to Teresa Anderson, and I don't recognize if Teresa's in the audience or not. She is the other property owner out there. So on the Merrillville side, there are 3 property owners.
Okay,
Okay, quite frankly, and I hate to put it in this vernacular, folks, and please don't take it the wrong way, but those are my bosses, okay? I don't necessarily represent Summertree. I have to represent the north side of 101st Avenue and on to Colorado. Those are the people that voted for me. Right on the corner is owned by a trust, which I believe, Sheila, is associated with the Islamic Center. So as Brian alluded to, way back in the day in 8 and 9, we had 725 mixed-use structures come in because there was a feeling of market, Brian, that, and MCD extended the sewers to get them to Summertree so Dave Van Dyke could build the houses that are on Summertree now for these residents. And they went through Merrillville, through the lift station at the 9300 block of Colorado. First and foremost, guys, there's absolutely no debate or discussion. You're going to repave 101st Avenue to the highest standards that Steve King tells you to from Mississippi to Colorado. That's an absolute concrete condition. No debate. Don't care about how many vehicles, how many employees, okay, guys? That's just how I feel. I got to be honest with you guys, and this goes for Margie and Leona. $100 million investment does not come along the pike every day.
right.
And so we need to seriously think about this and what this can do for the town. We set the CSI with silos over to Deep River and the Sanders, actually the Sanders Farm. And we rezoned that property before Leona got on the council, Margie, and it was only a matter of time before somebody came in with something like this.
Sure.
A low impact, low vehicular, $100 million investment. I have a real hard time as the ward councilman saying no to that. I really do. I mean, we can go through what Brian identified, but I can't do that when I've got to have opportunities. We, the 3 of us, and the other set of 4 have got to have job opportunities for our residents. And this may be job opportunities for our residents. And I can tell you, and Richard knows this, guys, from the Karras family, if you ask for any type of tax incentives, you will be hiring Merrillville residents. And that, again, is crystal clear. It's a 10% goal, but I'm going to start turning that a little bit more to make that, if we're going to give away tax dollars or incentives, you need to look at hiring Merrillville residents, because I'm sure there are Merrillville residents out there looking for employment. And Richard's been through this before. He knows all about this. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the zoning revision. Richard and I talked about that on the phone. He pointed out to me, and I forgot about this, Brian, that there was a 2-year where we could have taken things back, i.e. our industrial building up at 61st and Crossroads Plaza. We could have taken that back down to the commercial that it was. So I don't see it as a negative. I really don't. Quite honestly, and I hate to say it in this vernacular again, if someone were to come in and ask us to rezone from A1 to R1, if that big 725 unit development would have come in at 3 cars or 2 cars, you'd have been dumping 1,500 to 2,000 cars out on 101st Avenue if it would have been fully built out. These folks are talking minuscule, less than, what'd you say, sir?
It's about half a residential.
Half a residential? Yeah, so, the traffic's not gonna be there. We're gonna get traffic, and we all need to get used to it, and I don't know that they're gonna go to the east, but when that 1 million square footer opens up in October, there's gonna be truck traffic coming up and down Mississippi and 101st Avenue and 93rd Avenue and up to US 30. And we all, I'm ready for it in my area. I'm ready for it. That's why we widened Mississippi to 4 lanes.
Sure.
We widened 101st Avenue going west from Mississippi to Broadway for the same reason, to get these guys out of there. We've got the Amazon Fulfillment Center. We all see what's going on Broadway out of Ameriplex. We're in the park. Her and I are in the park together. So I don't, I don't see anything unless staff has got something that jumps out at them.
Well, I want to ask the engineers a question, Robert and Steve. And Sheila, do you have any type of a staff report on this?
I do.
Okay,
Can I clarify
let's
one
hear
thing
it.
before the staff
Mr.
report?
Anderson has a clarification.
I
What
just
is
wanted to clarify that each building is $100 million.
Oh, each
There's-
building, how many
there's
buildings?
9 of them,
So this is $900 million, Richard?
without the equipment,
Oh,
Without
my
the equipment?
goodness.
without the servers, which are personal property, which are, again, another figure.
I have to reiterate to the audience, Sean keeps mentioning my name and Leona's name, and the reason why he does that,
I like you guys.
we are council members too. When it comes for the final vote, we will be sitting on the council also.
Right.
And this is in Sean Pettit's ward, this development, and he seems to know a lot about it, which I understand. Okay, Sheila, what do you have to report?
Petitioner is requesting a zone change from A1 agriculture zoning to CIS industrial special district. The vacant 177.187 acres is now located in the agriculture zoning district, and petitioner is seeking a zone change for a proposed data center.
Okay, Steve and Robert, what do you have to say?
So, as of right now, this is just for a zone change. I personally don't have any comment. I mean, I like the project, but that's the only comments I have right now. Once, if this does go through, we'll see it on the engineering side, and then we'll have comments at that time.
Robert?
I don't have any comments at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, and Robert does represent Robinson Engineering. So my question is, did you speak to Richard, did they speak to MCD about the Conservancy and,
Yes, basically, with regard to MCD, I think Matt is the one that's been speaking to them, so I'll let him respond to that.
okay,
Yeah, we've engaged MCD. We've provided them, again, it's just the rezoning, so the building layout could potentially change. But we provided them with estimated demands for sanitary. And then there's a study that, I can't remember who their review engineer is, if it's Robinson or someone else. But a study that they're looking into to see if the site can handle the sewage.
okay, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think maybe I'll open it up to the audience.
I think it's an advertised public hearing.
It
isn't
is.
Right, this is an advertised public hearing.
Yes.
Per ordinance, first up, Merrillville residents, if you would step forward, state your name, and speak for or against this project. You have 3 minutes per ordinance. Non-Merrillville residents, if you could choose one or possibly 2 representatives to state your concerns or support for this project, please come up, state your name, state your address, and speak for or against.
Okay, let's file in one by one.
And you must
Give
come
us
up
your
and
comment and your question.
speak at the microphone here, so that,
Right.
because
The
this,
podium, the
yeah,
small podium here.
this is all recorded, so it'll be on the public record.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, ma'am.
Leon Beard, I reside in Summertree, and I'm concerned that we already have a water problem out there. I just don't think that it's going to make it better. In part, they shut the golf course down because of the water problem on that side.
What type
Have
of
we?
water problem? The streets, your basement, or what?
Yes, the
Yes,
basement.
what?
Both?
Both,
Both?
yes.
Okay, you
So the
get
interest-
flooding?
I'm sorry, ma'am.
You have flooding? In
Yes.
your basement?
A-
When
a
it
lot of-
rains?
A lot of residents have. I got 2 residents last week had floodings in their basement.
Okay.
Let me ask you, sir, or actually, if you don't mind, sir, Bob or Steve, does City of Crown Point have a stormwater management director?
They do,
They do.
yeah,
Okay.
they do.
I mean, have the folks contacted the City of Crown Point?
No, no, sir. To answer your question, no, sir. Only thing I know is when they started building Phase 2 back there, I contacted the Army Corps of Engineer, and they came out and inspected, and Precision wasn't allowed to build back there. Now, I haven't contacted Army Corps of Engineer about this situation, but I'm asking, you know, as a resident of Summertree, that we need to look into that, if we are pumping more water back there.
Well, that would be a question for the city of Crown Point, sir. I mean, we have our own Maryville has its own stormwater utility. We bill all the residents on their tax bill a fee based on residential, commercial, industrial property. And our director, Matt Lake, without a doubt, I will swear by this, is the best in the state of Indiana at stormwater. So I don't know if he needs to collaborate with the city of Crown Point. I would, you know, I'm sure Matt would be more than happy to talk to the city of Crown Point stormwater director, but that's in their jurisdiction. We wouldn't be able to do any work or do anything there.
No.
To the gentleman from Manhart, is this, the drainage on this property, where is it gonna, it's going into the retention ponds that Brian identified, but is it also gonna be, where's it gonna be released, to Deep River?
Yeah, it'll be released to Deep River, and then the town's ordinance doesn't allow us to increase the proposed drainage from the existing condition. So again, this is way in the future. But,
Yeah.
when we get to the engineering permit process, we won't be able to increase the flows.
And for the residents' benefit, again, as Mr. Anderson alluded to, this is about land use and about a zone change. When we get to the planned unit development stage, there is conceptual, preliminary, and final. And at preliminary is when Bob and Steve and Matt Lake and Sheila are gonna get into the nuts and bolts. There are 18 items on a checklist that these folks will have to adhere to in order for this group to give preliminary PUD approval. If we give them preliminary PUD approval, they come to final, it will come back to Margie, Leona, and myself, because a PUD is a zone change in the state of Indiana. So we're doing the zone change now, but there's gonna be a secondary zone change when you come for the PUD, right, Rich?
Right.
Well, and to really, to put your worries at rest on this, and our engineers can speak better, because I am not an engineer, but according to our ordinances, according to all of our controls in the ordinance book, these folks have to store all of their water. They cannot release a drop, except to the north to go into Deep River.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, again, as Sean said, if there is a problem on the Crown Point side, I hate to say it, I wish I could help you. There's really nothing that Merrillville can do other than to ensure that our ordinance book is adhered to and that they store their proper amounts of water, and the engineers will ensure that, and that their release rate is such that it will not impact any surrounding properties. Again, if you have a problem with Crown Point, you have to go petition Crown Point. You have to go to their stormwater meetings. You have to go to their plan commission, talk to your city councilman, and, you know, go at it that way. Because if you're having water problems, we've had some subdivisions just down the road from you over the years, down on 93rd, that have had some severe flooding issues. And we have found ways to solve that in Merrillville. But again, we cannot, we can help, we can advise. As Sean said, we're offering Matt Lake to, you know, speak for you to their engineer, but it's up to their engineers.
Okay, Brian, I would like to ask Chris a question. You work in Crown Point, Chris.
Yes, I do.
Okay, you are with the sanitary sewers or yes?
Yeah, I'm the foreman at the wastewater plant.
Okay, I think Chris could answer some of your questions, maybe,
Well,
right?
it's basically, it's what Brian said. I mean, you would have to speak to your councilman, you would have to speak to Matt Lake, and then you would have to go to the stormwater meeting in order to express your concerns, because there is nothing I could do.
Understood. I understand.
Yeah, just information-wise,
Information.
yeah.
Yeah. So the second question would be, a lot of residents in Summertree are concerned about the noise.
Concerned about the what?
Noise.
The noise.
Oh, the noise.
Yes. So I hear earlier, but as human beings, we don't adhere to some of the rules and regulations.
Sure. Well, I'm sure
And
the
that's going to be a
developer,
concern of ours.
the developer, Mr. Anderson, you could help me out here. I'm sure they will put up some type of fencing that alleviates the noise, which I have seen in other
Well,
developments.
the PUD ordinance has a noise chart in it, and basically you must comply with that noise, and that is to try to eliminate this. And so if we violate that, then of course we're in violation of the PUD. So basically,
Well, and, you know, this will all be ensured by engineering, by the 18 points that Sean has talked about, that they will have to show compliance at every step of the way with all of our ordinances, including noise, including dark skies. The smallest car dealership in the town of Merrillville has to comply with the noise coming out of their garage when they're working on cars. They have to comply with the dark skies ordinance for any overhead lighting. So, you know, there are protections in place.
And at the PUD level, of course, now we're more sophisticated as far as what kind of equipment we're using, so therefore, they have specifications for that equipment, which also can be shown. But right now, you know, we don't have any of that yet, because that's part of the PUD process. And this is part of the land use process.
When also, the last thing I'll say is, just like I was saying to them when I was asking about the noise, because that's a concern of mine also. Where I work, we have some very large data servers. And when you stand outside of the part of the building that has those servers, you hear nothing. They've got it well insulated, both inside and out. So there are ways that you can, you know, mask or alleviate any noise coming off of the servers themselves. I was concerned about the HVAC systems because they have to keep these things pretty cold. But again, as long as they adhere to ordinance, and that's what the 7 of us are here for. You got 3 councilmen, you've got 4 citizens up here. Some of us have been on this board for 15, 18, 20 years. And we ensure every time that something is built in the town that it adheres to the ordinance before it is sent on to the council.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, ma'am.
So
Is there anything
the
else?
third last thing, we're concerned about the road, 101st Avenue. You know, not to throw you under the bus, but it's a hard time trying to get the town of Merrillville to come out there and, you know, work the holes, the potholes.
No, it's not. My department does the potholes. We're out there all the time.
So right there at the bridge, right today, sir, there are potholes. That
Okay,
was
right
just-
today, okay?
Yeah,
But
right today, right
we
now.
keep up on them, but that, actually, I'll tell you this. So that road is scheduled for our community crossings project, one of our community crossings projects, for next year. So it will be resurfaced next year.
So that could be true. I'm not here to debate about that, but the question is, what are we going to do in the future when these trucks start going down? You know, again, I've been there 7 years, and that road has been rough. It's been a rough road to travel, especially over that bridge. Before I cross over that bridge, I'm normally going over here, hey, I hope the car's not coming.
Yeah, it's pretty rough in there now, and we'll monitor that as the years go by and resurface as necessary.
Okay.
Steve
When did we
King is the
repay- wait.
director of the Public Works, and he monitors everything, believe you me.
We repaved that though, didn't we,
Yeah.
Steve, about 7 years ago?
We haven't paved the section, I don't know, just east of the bridge, between there and Colorado. We've done some patching out there, but that's not been resurfaced.
Which,
Come to the podium,
Yeah,
please.
first up,
If you have
we
questions.
don't yell from the audience.
Please come to the small podium.
So, yeah.
State your name.
Earlier, you said that you were going to widen the 101st? How is that going to?
No.
I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood.
no, I asked them to resurface it.
Oh, resurface?
And what we've
Yeah.
done in the past, we widened Mississippi because we got federal aid money, 80-20. Town put up 20%.
Okay.
With Colorado, when Modern Forge of Indiana and first Polycon and then Modern Forge, we spent $500,000 on that road from 83rd down to 101st. And what they did was they liquefied the base. They ground up the old Colorado street, left the debris in place. They went and they liquefied it, and then they put
The cement stabilization process.
cement stabilization, but then they put 2 in 1,
I
Two binder
believe
and one top coat?
there's 4 inches, there's 2 and 2.
4 inches of asphalt on Colorado. So, again, the traffic, the truck traffic is not gonna go to the east. Number one, there's nowhere for them to go.
Okay.
When I first got into office, that was one thing that Congressman Voskowski and I talked about. The residents out there did not want an interchange at 101st Avenue. That's why it's at 109th. Because 101st Avenue does not go through to Porter County. It stops at Clay and it picks back up at Randolph. So there was not a contiguous stretch of 101st Avenue. And so the residents, the 3 that I talked to you about, they didn't want it there either. The people going to the east didn't want the interchange there either. So 101st Avenue just needs to be maintained for the locals and, you know, the workers. Some of the workers may be leaving the site if they live, you know, out east. They may leave the site, but I think, Steve, that we can just leave it at 2 lanes, maybe just when we pave it, reinforce it, the base.
Yeah, the traffic volume isn't gonna warrant, you know, changing it to a 3-lane section. You know, not at this time. I mean, maybe by the time we get to the end of this, if this development goes through, by the time we get to the end of this development, with the traffic coming from Winfield and those areas, you know, could warrant some turn lanes or passing blisters or something to get traffic in and out of that building. I mean, this is purely conceptual at this point, so.
When we will, just like any other development, there'll be accel, decel lanes along 101st.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Please come to the podium, the small podium. State your name and address, sir.
My name is Scott Gachet. I live at 2707 East 101st Avenue in Crown Point, directly across from all this. I appreciate everybody's concerns, but they have said some things that it's going to be data in cold storage. Okay, data is computer servers, I take it? Okay. How big are these buildings? We got 9 buildings, right?
Am I allowed, can I answer?
I have questions more so than anything else before.
Go ahead, because I've got a comment after the gentleman's done about where I live. Go ahead, guys. Tell them how tall are the buildings going to be?
No, how big are?
How big?
Are they?
Each building's 250,000 square feet.
So they're close to the one on the corner of Mississippi and 101st.
Right.
That'd be correct?
That's 268,000 square feet.
287, something like that?
Right.
So they're those size buildings?
Yep.
Are they concrete tilt-up? What kind of buildings are these?
Well, let me clarify for him, Richard, sir. I live in the preserve. I have one lot between me and a 278,000 square foot building that Opus just put up. Every time I go out my deck and I have coffee, I look to the south and I see that building. I supported it. I voted for that because the property was zoned M1.
You and I might get along, because I'm not necessarily opposed to it.
Right.
But they say things that make me not trust them. They're 250,000 square foot buildings. They're concrete tilt-up, just like the other ones? Or are they different? I don't know what these buildings are.
We have to suggest again that this is a tentative plan for zoning. There's a PUD process in which all this gets sorted out, and you get public notice again.
Okay.
So, and the board looks at it again, and at that time, I think we're in a better position to tell you exactly what you're asking.
Okay.
What we're here for tonight is land use. We're here tonight to rezone it from A1 to CSI.
And unfortunately, I don't have any input in that because I'm not a Merrillville resident, so I can accept that. But how do we go about finding out more information? Because they're saying things, and I'm listening, I can't digest them all on the fly, but things are contradictory. Data stored in cold storage.
I never said cold storage. Data center is all I've ever said. What they're talking about when they talk about refrigeration is computers need to be.
No, I understand that. I thought I heard cold storage in there somewhere.
No.
No cold storage.
He's just saying that they have developed both cold storage and data center buildings.
Okay.
We are developers specializing.
Okay, so I misunderstood. No, fair. I heard data storage and cold storage. My misunderstanding. How many employees, 9 buildings? I'm assuming it's a 24/7 operation.
Again, we're at the PUD stage where all that comes out.
Yeah, that's where all of this comes to. Yeah.
We've got to get through land use.
So we have to come back and argue later, in a polite way.
Yeah. Or maybe you'll like what you hear.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it. What I'm more concerned about is and if what you're telling me is correct, I have to have some suspicion against you guys. It's just my nature. If it's machinery and there's 10 people in 9 buildings, there's 90 people, employees there, it isn't a big traffic load. Now, does it take 100 people in each one of these 9 buildings? The data storage is 1.3 cars versus the residential rate. How many people will be in the building? That's the stuff we need to know. We can throw out the theoretical numbers,
And
but
that
until
will
we
all
know.
come as part of the PUD. Because then the buildings will be designed, then maybe they're not 250,000, maybe they're 268, maybe they're
So,
240.
now, do you guys, there's 3 irregular shaped parcels in there and 2 more rectangular or square, correct?
Two very regular shapes.
Yeah.
Do you have the long, thin one along the creek, the C-shaped
We
one?
don't have the thin one, we only
Okay.
have the two,
Okay.
just to the east of the thin one.
Yeah, because your legal description can neither make hide nor hair of that.
The Deep River is.
But it's 100, the letter we got was very unclear, because it made it look like it was 187,000 acres, not 177.8, whatever. You have the 177 acres. They missed the decimal point. So we can't, all you're worried about is the zoning change, the land use. I can't vote, I think it sucks, I may not, but that's it. When do we come back to find out, when are they gonna just tell us what the buildings would be?
You would give public notice of the PUD process.
Going on?
Yes.
Well, and to be honest with you, sir, before that even happens, do the same thing that I do. Go online. It's real easy. Go to Caris Corporation and look at their assets around the United States. They've got 3 or 4 of them in the Chicago area. They've got them in Denver. They got them in Jupiter, Florida. They've got them all over. And you can see what they've done in the past and the
I'm sure they
community
build a nice
around
product.
that.
I'm sure they build a nice product.
Yeah.
It's supposed to- And like I told him, I'm not necessarily objecting to it.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm worried about is the bait and switch. Like, we're expecting this, and then it's gonna be something else.
No,
That's-
believe me,
that's
that's why
the
the
main
7 of us are up
That's-
here.
yeah.
We
That's
watch
why we
that
not let that
real
happen.
careful before it
No.
ever gets to the
Right.
final
No,
vote.
You have to
sir,
understand my
but
suspicion or lack of belief.
I've got-
Involved with the water, fortunately, Summer Tree will be underwater, and it won't even be at my back step because I live on the hill.
this group,
But we get a lot of, we're told this, and it doesn't come.
well,
to fruition.
this group scrutinizes very well, and I've had the esteemed pleasure of being the councilman 21 years. I am not going to let, excuse my French, Richard, I'm not going to let a piece of junk go out there. I won't vote for it. I'm very strong, and Margie and Leona can tell you, I'm very strong in economic development. I'm president of the Redevelopment Commission for 18 years. I take this job extremely serious. You guys have my word. This is not going to be a piece of crap that goes out there on the 177 acres. All you have to do is look at silos at Sanders Farm and talk to Matt Cruz as to what this town required them to do.
It looks nice, you did a great job, I'm not, but what I'm worried about, and I may have been wrong, as I said earlier, because I heard data center, are these low-rise buildings, are they two-story, like a? Again, 32 feet. I can't reiterate enough. We're not in that stage.
Only thing that I am saying to you, that basically, that part of this ordinance is that zoning requires that we tell you it's a data center. I gave you a definition of a data center.
Yeah, we're going to make a recommendation. Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm going to make it.
So basically, that's where we're at.
So we have to wait till we have
Public hearing.
a chance to review this when you, so your next stage is to come up with the buildings, this is the building we're proposing, how does this proceed?
Well, after tonight, sir, if there's a positive recommendation from this board, it will again come to Marge and Leona and I and the other 4 council members. Sheila will forward it on to the town attorney with Mr. Anderson's help on the ordinance. It could be on the 23rd. I don't know, Sheila, if you're going to get it on the 23rd, or the council meets the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays. So that zone change will take place sometime in August, probably on August 13th. The entire council will vote on that ordinance. Then they can, Richard and Karis can start planning on the PUD side, I would assume.
So really, until that, there's no point in having any objections other than my basic objection that I preferred state agriculture or as it was zoned when I bought it as residential.
Right.
So, okay, well, thank you for your time.
And I just wanted to state for you guys that live on the Summer Tree side, hang on there. They're building, Crown Point, those of you that are familiar with Crown Point, they're building a $130 million wastewater, stormwater facility over there. It's on Iowa and 122nd, I believe. It's coming. They're breaking ground on it. It's coming in October, November is when they'll start. That will help dramatically out there. Yeah, I mean, that's all I could say about that, but it is coming to relieve that because there's a lot of stuff that's gonna happen there.
Thank you, Chris. Does anyone else wish to speak? State your name and address.
My name is Paul. I live right, my land is 2804. I own 5 acres right on the side. Was not even shown because my house is tiny. So my property is 5 acres and you say 500 feet, right? That means from the whole property line, not just from my house, because what if I want to build a house at the end? Because if we change it to industrial, if it stays as a thing, I could build my house at the end, right, without no restrictions. But as soon as you change it to industrial, then I have restrictions to build a house next to your property, right?
Sir, and I think Sheila could answer this better than anybody. Even if that stayed Ag 1, you still have to adhere to town setbacks, town ordinances, no matter if it's a forest out there. You still have to adhere to our ordinance book.
Are you the little gray house?
Yes.
Okay. I know exactly where he's
blue
at,
now.
yes.
It's not, it's blue now,
Now it's blue, yeah.
fully remodeled.
And you want to rebuild the house on that lot?
Oh, it's just what if I have kids? Well, they're coming, but what if I want to build another house at that for like my.
Well, you'd come to us and subdivide your property into 2 lots and work with Sheila and a surveyor and an engineer.
Will that limit me if we do industrial next to my house?
No,
No.
no, it has nothing to do with that. You're going to stay Ag 1. You could ask for a rezone to R1. And you could subdivide the property and you'd come to this board again.
Okay, then everybody's worried about noise. Yeah, I know noise too, but do they guarantee me right now I have, let's say, 65 decibels of noise, right? Do you guarantee I'm going to still have the same noise when I get out of the house? Yes, but first, that's how you guys work. First you want the land, they're like, oh, I'm going to build whatever I want, right?
And I gotta tell you, I don't think I've ever done that. Sean, I think would tell you.
Well, and I can, again, going back to my history with the town, sir, in 21 years, we allowed Modern Forge of Indiana to come on Colorado. That is a forging, manufacturing, stamping plant. Their biggest customer is Harley Davidson. If you see chrome on a motorcycle, chances are it was made at Modern Forge or one of their plants. I've never gotten a phone call about them, and they run 3 shifts out there on Colorado.
Also, data center.
Oh, there's people out there. There's people on Harms Road. There's people on Colorado. Yeah.
Also data center, they require a lot of cooling, that produce a lot of heat. So now if I open my window, I'm going to have a 100-degree breeze because of the data centers. They create a lot of heat. I know how data center works because I own some servers at home.
Again, you have the distance that you have to be from the lot line. You have the distance that they are from the lot line which each of the proposed buildings are. This is again gonna be reviewed as far as where those buildings are in relationship to the lot line by Robinson Engineering to see that we meet those distances.
And if you want to do more research into our ordinances, download our ordinance book to your computer, your iPad. It's very simple, takes a couple of minutes. I just punched up decibel as a search. There's section 1347 and 1340, 21.115 and 21.3 that deals with every bit of decibels from everything from a manufacturing plant to a car shop, to any kind of, transportation facility. And you can see how many decibels is allowed in each zoning district. And it's all right there, black and white. And that's been our ordinances, updated as time goes on for many, many years. But it's all available online at Merrillville Muni Code.
Also, let's say they're going to show next prior hearing. They're going to have all the buildings ready. They're going to show, oh, it's very quiet. And then when they start building the development, it's going to be very loud. Is there any punishment? Is that project going to be stopped?
Construction hours, sir, are from?
No, overall, when it's completely finished, the noise is going to be louder than they say they will, and the heat. Is they going to knock down the buildings, or what's the penalty for that?
Richard?
Well, they're not going to knock down $900 million worth of
No.
buildings, sir. I'm sorry, that's not good. That's why we're going to have to scrutinize this.
Yeah.
and get to that point, as Richard keeps reiterating again and again and again. We need to get to the zone, through the zone change in the next 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And then they can start in on the PUD and they'll
Right.
be able to provide more information. We can stop this project can stop dead, just because we rezone the property tonight or at the council level, we go to the PUD and we hear things we don't like. And I hope you guys understand that. Richard, I know, knows, we can kill that project, depending on how the seven of us and the seven on the council feel. So it's not, this is the first step. It's by no means a done deal. We're not carving this in concrete tonight.
No.
And also, how does that increase my property line or decreases it? Because I think it's gonna decrease my property value.
I think that's a question for the attorney.
That's gonna be a
Go on.
appraisal.
Answer that about his
Yeah,
property line.
They would have to go through, well, you would have the right to seek an appraisal to see how it would impact your property. And obviously, I would imagine that a part of the plan too, and part of why the town of Merrillville has ordinances to keep the aesthetic beauty, to have the setbacks, to ensure we don't have water encroaching into neighboring properties, is to help the integrity of the value of the neighboring properties. That's part of why the ordinances are in place. So again, it's hard without concrete plans on what the buildings are gonna look like, where they're positioned, what trees are gonna go in, what fences are gonna be there to determine how that would impact your property value. So that would have to be decided at a later time.
Okay.
And basically, just for the benefit of everybody and the folks up here know me, I bring all of this stuff up, even though it's not voted on, even though it's not in stone. I bring these kind of things up at the very beginning, so there's no hidden agenda between the town and the developer. The developer knows where I'm coming from right up front. And again, I don't want to look at a blank wall. I want to see trees. I want to see a lot of trees. I want to see an attractive fence. I want the surrounding neighbors, even though they aren't Merrillville residents, and I do consider everybody that surrounds Merrillville as my neighbor. I want to see an attractive product that we can all be happy about, still working to the betterment of the town of Merrillville.
Okay,
Okay, let's move along,
Yep.
Brian.
that's all.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Please come up to the podium, the small podium. State your name and address, ma'am.
Hello, my name's Polly McCubbin, and I live at 10212 Florida Lane. And I have a question for you. If this is rezoned as the commercial industrial special zoning, what are the permitted uses?
I think.
There will be one, and it will be a data center, and it will be spelled out specifically in that ordinance that's presented to the town council.
Okay, so if the development proceeds and for some reason, 7 years from now, they haven't built all the buildings and they come back to you and they say, okay, now we want to put, I don't know, some kind of let's say Walgreens wants to relocate their warehouse center in there. That would not be allowed.
No.
No, without amending what they're going to do is the zone change, they're going to rezone the property tonight, as Richard has said. But when they come through the planned unit development, and that's why I said it's a recognized zone change by Indiana code, you specify the uses you want in that PUD. With these gentlemen, it's only going to be a data center. I'll give you an example. Our C3 Highway Commercial Zoning District has 135 permitted uses, but we have had PUDs that have narrowed that down. That's the control that the town gets. We know exactly what's going on, and even though it's a permitted use, it's not listed in the PUD ordinance as one of 3 different uses, they can't do anything about it. That's our control. We give back to the developer landscaping, parking, what else, Brian? Green setbacks,
space.
green space. We allow them to adjust that, whereby we are controlling 1 or 2 or 3 land uses that they're permitted. And they can't do anything else unless they come back and change that ordinance.
Okay, all right. The other question I have is, before the meeting, I was looking at the boards over there, and if I was reading that correctly, according to that, multi and low-density residential is what is proposed for that property right now. And if that is the case, then why are you tossing that aside if that's been determined to be the best and most appropriate use?
Sean, if I could.
Go right ahead, Brian.
I think that goes back to what was allowed to be built there back in '08 before the company went belly up. We had a 750 lot subdivision planned for there. They went belly up. The land reverted because, again, they had a PUD. It was only that project. So once the land reverted, when they went out of business, it stayed on the maps as that, but no, it's back to Ag 1. So basically, it's anything that could be developed pursuant to a zone change.
Even though that says future development concepts.
Well, it was a future development, started, 17 years ago, and it never came to fruition.
Okay.
And that company's long out of business.
Okay. And the other question I have is for Karis. I'm just wondering, why is that parcel so attractive to you? Why does it have to be in that location as opposed to some of the other areas around the area? Did you want?
Basically, the answer to that question is what we explained before. There's the power line of NIPSCO's that runs right through the property, which is right here, which is what Matt told you about earlier. The high-tension line. You need power for data centers.
Okay.
That's why the site is chosen for this.
And that goes directly back to the transformer station line. Is that why? And there's no other high-powered feeds up in Mississippi?
Not where there's this much land.
And those lines actually go back to the gen stations. Those are the big transmission lines that carry it from state to state.
Right, those are not associated with silos at Sanders Farm. Silos, Crow Holdings built that substation on 101st in Mississippi, NIPSCO. That only has enough power to power their there's a fourth building coming on their property, so it powers the 1 million square footer, the 455,000 square footer, and the one right on the corner of 101st in Mississippi. That was designed that way, and NIPSCO required them to build that substation. So this will not be, this development is what Richard and Karis and Patrick are going through, is not going to be tied into that substation that you see on 101st in Mississippi.
Okay. So speaking of power, will there be emergency generators? And how large will they be? I mean, as part of the development, as backup for the data center?
That's still planning.
That's still planning.
We
You know,
can't answer all this.
To be honest with you, and this is not an official NIPSCO statement, just like the storm last night, at 5 o'clock in the morning, we had 100,000 people with no electricity from the Illinois
Right.
line to the Ohio line. We're down under 50,000 now. But when you lose transmission towers, when you lose 69 kV lines, there's a lot more concerns than running a generator for a day or two to keep things working in a server farm. We need to get 100,000 residents back in the juice. So, which I'm going to have to leave shortly.
I know.
folks. Yeah.
Are you through?
I was on shift until 5 this morning dealing with that.
Okay, is there anyone else that wishes to speak or ask questions or make a comment? Okay, this is a public hearing. I have to ask you that 3 times. Is there anybody else here that wants to speak or make a comment or a question? Anybody else want to speak or make a comment? Anybody else want to speak or make a comment? Okay, that closes the public hearing for now. I will continue on with asking for a motion for a zone change from A1 to Commercial Industrial Special Zoning District.
Madam President, I make a motion that we approve P4Z1-0724.
We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Sean Pettit
May I add that we would say for a data center, since
for the data center.
For the data,
Yeah.
for proposed data center.
Add
Okay.
that to your motion.
I will add that.
Okay. Can I have a second to the same motion? Second by Ms. Leona, and a motion made by Sean Pettit. in his ward. What is it,
You
Richard?
should probably also add in if you are favorable to the commitment for the 4 years, or do you want to do that separately? That's a.
I think we should do that separate, don't you think so, Sean?
I defer to legal
The lawyer,
counsel.
I'm sorry.
That's why we've got her here tonight.
Oh,
Vote
okay.
for each.
You want to
Do
do
it
it
A
separately?
separate.
motion for each for the zoning
Okay.
commitment?
We don't have to do that right now, do we?
You can choose to defer it.
I think we should choose to defer it and just get rid of this
No, I
one
think, I
zone
think it should
change.
go to the council, though. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
could do,
okay.
Let's
you could
just do
two
the-
separate motions.
Okay, Madam
We
Chairman,
have a motion on the floor right now.
call the
in a
question
second.
for the motion on the floor.
What?
I'd like to call the question for the motion on the floor.
What is the question?
No,
That he just said.
I'd like to close all further comment on it.
Okay.
Move on to
very
the
good.
vote.
Brian's got to get back to work, Madam
Well,
President. I could
Brian, okay, the motion is closed. Can I please take a vote here?
Yes.
Secretary, please.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Holtz?
We're only voting on
The zone change.
Zone change.
That's what the motion is for, the zone change, Rick.
yes.
Ms. Chandler
Leona.
Felton?
Aye.
Mr. Daring?
Yes.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I myself am a yes, and Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
There it is, 7 yeses.
Okay.
Madam
we have-
President, to address Mr. Anderson's comment, I make a motion that we approve the zoning commitment as presented.
Very good.
Second?
Okay, motion on the floor by Sean Pettit to approve the zoning and seconded by Brian Deering. Thank you. Do we need a vote? Okay, call the vote for the board members.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Holtz?
I'm confused because I never, what are we asking? Because I don't.
For the 4-year zoning commitment?
We're extending the
4
commitment, Rick, from 2 years, which is per the ordinance, to 4 years, based on their requirement that they may have for power from NIPSCO. If they can get the power from NIPSCO, they want some extra time. Normally, what we can do by the ordinance is if someone has a zone change and they haven't done anything, after 2 years, we could pull the zoning on them as a town. The council can pull the zoning. Instead
Right.
of 2 years, Richard's asking for 4 years.
We're giving a 4-year commitment,
I know,
Rick.
but I totally missed that. I don't know how I missed
Yeah,
that.
yep,
No, you missed it.
yep.
Wow.
Are you in favor or not?
I'll abstain because I,
Okay, Leona? Aye.
Mr. Daring?
Yes.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I myself am a yes, and Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
That's
Okay.
6 yeses and 1 abstain.
Motion approved, but 6 yeses and 1 abstention on a, God, I'm getting
Zoning
confused here
commitment.
myself, a 4-year commitment
Thank you
for
very
the
much.
zone change.
Thank you.
Okay?
And Richard and Karis, thank you very much. I apologize to the next petitioner, but I've got to get back to,
Goodbye, Brian.
You know the next petitioner.
yeah.
Okay. And if anything else would come up, everybody will be notified by mail with our next meeting, okay? Okay. Okay. Bye, Brian. Okay. Sure, bye, Brian. Yeah.
Good night, Brian.
Bye, Brian.
Primary entrance, gravel drive is right there.
Hello.
Heading in.
Yes. Good, how are you?
Proposed entrance is probably me. Take care, sir. The proposed entrance.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's a Yaris, it's a small Yaris. The entrance. No, you're fine. And this is the entrance.
No, this is closed for tonight, public hearing. But when we have another meeting, which would be in 2 weeks, you could are we scheduling in 2 weeks,
Yeah, the
Sheila,
bridge basically
for
ends,
another
like,
meeting
right there.
on this
That's when
development?
they
This
file
will
it.
go to a zone change.
What?
Now, this will go to a zone change, but when they file for a PUD.
Well, she wants to speak at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
She'll be the
I know
PUD.
you guys probably all got frustrated with the attorney continuously saying.
All right, well, when it comes, in fact, I just had this conversation with Joe. This is the advertised public hearing, so when Leona and Margie and I see it with the rest of the council, there will not be public comment. Okay, this is the public comment. When they file the new
How are you?
PUD petition,
No, we
Thank-
staggered.
you'll be able to comment on them.
Where you're starting to build,
It's up to them. I don't know
It's
when
up
they're
to
gonna
them when
file.
they file.
See you too. That's up to
Did you get a notice?
Hi, Randy. What do you think of that civics lesson?
Just, call my office and I'll get somebody in contact with you so we can ask the questions.
Hey, that's a nice shirt you got, man.
I'm the planning and building.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, just call me and I'll get you somebody in contact with someone to ask the questions. Okay, no problem.
He was, right,
But it didn't hit the 5%.
Yeah, I met, that's a long day for you guys.
Like, how long?
Yeah.
So you just did, change a couple things?
Yeah.
I know, it becomes confusing, but we,
I was like, wait a second.
it'll be okay.
I've been up all night, I've been up since 3:30 a.m.
Okay, we're gonna start now. Okay, we will continue with the agenda, please.
All right.
Mr. Randy Hall, item P5FP2-0724. Randy Hall, CO Hallmark petitioner and owner, that's the Liberty Estates. Okay, located east of Whitcomb and 87th Avenue, south of 84th Place, west of Taney Street, and north of 89th Avenue. His request, a final planned unit development approval, Phase 6 on 28.25 acres in a planned unit development zoning district. The purpose, commercial development. Okay, Randy, present your program.
Good evening, everyone. I will be short because I know that you all have plans and everything, but I'm happy to expand on anything that if you don't feel like I covered enough. Very happy to be back and to see you again. We are here to make two separate requests, obviously tied together. One is an amendment to our current PUD to allow for some lot lines to be adjusted and some density in phases 5 and 7, which are adjacent to each other. And then to go for a final PUD approval request for phase 6, which is our commercial phase, which is directly below 5 and 7. I think looking at my handout might be easier than above, but we have both for reference at your convenience. So that first drawing is really the current PUD, if you recall, multiple phases. We're here only talking about 5, 6, and 7 tonight. The reason that I'm here to request the changes are pretty common. We did our best to tell you what we plan to do with the site. Some years have passed. Demand has shifted. We've learned a little bit better about the market and the clients. But also equally, the town, as you know, is significantly progressing along with due diligence on what to do with this Whitcomb area and general traffic. And so we have been coordinating all discussions that we've been invited to and modifying our site plans to best fit with the long-term plans of the town as they've been described to us to maximize, developing the area instead of looking parcel to parcel. So everything we're here suggesting this evening is what we believe to be benefits and complementary to the town's plans with the area in Whitcomb. Real quickly, I don't know if you guys want me to read this to you. I think you've had them before, but recommended PUD modifications. Phase 5 and 7, which are, I think you can again read real close to you. Right now, they're almost aligned vertically next to each other and adjacent. We're recommending that entire box, which is not a change of use, but just the deletion of the phase lines between them. So really simplistic, not a big change there, to allow a little more flexibility for the developer of the apartments to come in and give a layout that will be superior. We think the layouts are gonna run east and west, so they'll have frontage on Whitcomb. Also, they have frontage on that large detention pond, which is turning out to be really attractive. We've got a fountain in the north one, and as the south develops, there'll be more amenities there. So that's our first point. And you'll note right between phases 5 and 7 and 6 is, and then this would be on your third page, which is the back, it says proposed phase modification. There's a roundabout proposed there. And again, when I say proposed, the town and its own engineers are reviewing that best use opportunity. It's the picture you see up now. And so Phase 6, which was a curvy road, now is a straight east-west road that comes out on 87th as always planned. It is far enough away from the roundabout to not cause problems. But the other thing we've done here is recommend that everything on the north side of that Phase 6 access road become Phases 5 and 7. In other words, I'm reducing the amount of commercial buildings for more residential.
That's 86th Avenue, Randy,
Yes,
you're
yes, sir.
talking about that runs east and west?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, 86th Avenue.
Is that where, excuse the expression, they call Dead Man's Curve? Is that around there?
That curve, Steve, you help me, is south of there, right?
Yeah, the curve is north of what Randy's talking about.
Oh, okay, it's north of what you're talking about.
Right.
Oh.
Okay, and what are you doing with that Dead Man's Curve?
So the curve in the entire planning of Whitcomb Street and 87th is subject to a study that's being done, engineering-wise and such, and then they're going to recommend such things with the town. They've shared just ballpark preliminary outlooks for us. And
Okay.
so what we're doing, to answer your question, is with the information we've shared and sharing this thought with them before coming in front of you, we're optimizing our road tie-ins and limiting our ingress-egress counts to best match the intended future phase.
Okay,
So what we've done, Phase 6 now is a smaller phase in terms of number of buildings, therefore we'll have less traffic coming out on 86th. The roundabout, assuming the location, to my knowledge, is real close to what you see with that circle, will have Phase 7 coming directly out on it. And then Phase 5 will come out on 84th Street, which is above this picture. And so now we've taken this and parceled the traffic into 3 areas instead of focusing it all towards 84th, which would have been much more burdensome for the future.
well, I have to make a comment. I did go check out the Liberty Estates development with the houses. I think you were there, Randy, when I came?
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate your time.
And it was a very nice development. Did you sell any of those homes yet?
We do have some residents in. I'm happy to tell you it has been a little rough running with the rates being a little higher than we all
Sure.
expected. We buy down rates just like any builder to try and get bodies in there and wait for a sunnier day, I guess is the best way to say it.
Now, what about the rentals? Did you rent any of the rentals?
We have
I'm
the
just
first
curious.
street mostly occupied, which is the first 4 buildings.
They are occupied?
We have several occupied, yes.
Oh, good.
We're taking our time and picking the residents and working through it to make sure we have a nice diversity and, solid people that are property owners,
Sure.
not true renters. It's a real
Well,
neat product.
I was just very curious, since this is my ward, right, Chris? Mm-hmm. And seems like Liberty Estates is really moving on. Any questions or comments, Mr. Rich?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Holtz, Rick?
Yeah, I'm gonna stand up. So this is still gonna be a road here and a road here?
Okay. No, the bottom one that you pointed to, let me go back to the microphone, I'm sorry. The one you pointed to on the bottom, that's actually a high line utility power line that's in the air. That is not a road. So south of the buildings that run east-west, that is high-tension power lines overhead, and if you look, there's squares in the various lines, those are the actual towers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of simply reflecting an easement of what's there.
All right, yeah, because I was wondering, I was seeing on that one page, you got all yellow, and I didn't know why this was so thin through here. So that's all high tension towers?
Correct. Correct. That's the existing ones. So the road, which is just above the roughly 5 buildings you're seeing, that has not moved other than it's straightened out.
Straighten it out.
Correct. And now it has less traffic on it. To the east, it still has a breakaway style access to the Redwood area. And in fact, in engineering review, your people have suggested, some various things there that says no construction or no truck traffic, you know what I mean? Limitations, it's just an emergency exit, if you will.
You're saying this up here would be emergency access?
Correct, yes. Again, subject to the town's desire. Preliminarily, that was our feedback.
So you plan on putting buildings in here?
That is phase 5 and 7 also. So everything north or above the road you see is 5 and 7 now, even though that labeling didn't carry over to the right where you just pointed. Everything south or below the street is phase 6.
Madam President, I have, as Rick's pointing to this, can I ask Randy a question?
Sure.
Or actually Sheila, I guess. Since this is a PUD, we're modifying a PUD. Go back to that other slide that Rick was pointing, Rick, point to the end where you said it's a crash, it's a no construction. And it goes into 5 and 7, Randy?
Yes, sir.
Because this is a PUD, are we gonna allow a dead-end street like that, or should that be a cul-de-sac, or is
That's
that?
what I was going to say, isn't that dead end and it's?
We only allow 660-foot cul-de-sacs.
It does not dead end. So let me clarify. It ties into an east-west road not shown, built by Redwood.
Right.
I was simply commenting that one of the engineers on your side have commented, hey, maybe, we're going to talk about whether the road stays open and just has a sign or has a breakaway, whatever the town wants. But it legally meets your requirements for ingress, egress on both sides.
Well, it's not, no disrespect, that's not really where I'm going, Randy.
I'm sorry?
I'm going with, if this is gated, this is kind of similar to what I've got out at Auburn Hills and grass fields. Why are you laughing, Steve?
You know why I'm laughing.
We have a similar situation where they did not want Shelby going through and touching into grass fields. So is that what's happening here? It's just the pavement stops there?
No, sir. The pavement ties in to the existing streets, and Redwood has already put in their concrete streets. My only point, and maybe I'm not understanding your question, it ties in completely, but the town.
We just don't have a layout of Redwood. We don't have a layout for Redwood.
Not shown, but yes, if you kept going east where there's no road, there's a road there now.
All right.
So you're saying this ties into another
Yes.
street?
Yes.
All right, that's what, I wanted to get the length of the cul-de-sac, Rick.
That's what I was trying to get to too.
Yeah.
I'm like, if this is a dead end.
That's a long dead-end street.
Right.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
No, we do meet.
Okay.
We do meet. And
You
that
got
is
there.
no change.
That's not
That is
gonna
no
happen.
change from the prior approval. Ross,
Can
could
we
you
put a
flip
wood
to the
fence up
current
there too,
plan?
Sean? Can we put
See,
wood-
this is in Ward 4, see, I don't go into Ward 4.
Yeah.
I let Madam
current.
President
That's
handle
okay.
Ward 4.
Ask anything you want.
If you look right here,
Chris.
here's your picture where it
Chris,
shows
send me
the
our
road go
picture.
through.
Okay, there we go.
I knew what he was saying, but I knew it wasn't
Okay.
laid out
All
yet.
right, there we go.
So what's different about the new
Yeah.
plan is all those buildings on the north side of 84th
Gone.
are gone, and the road's straightened out.
Okay.
But you may put apartments on, where those last four on the far east side?
Yes, so everything north of 84th is going to become zoned apartments instead of zoned commercial. But the density, the population per acre is actually gone down. There's more land for the number of apartments.
What do you estimate on the number for the apartments? How many?
500 total for the total acreage.
500 total
ma'am.
apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
How many
In 5 and
buildings?
7?
We currently have approval for 400, and we're giving up the commercial buildings, 9 of them, to expand a lower density into the same land of apartments. So it's more residential, it's a better buffer between the commercial and any residential now, and it improves the traffic significantly.
How many buildings?
That'll be subject to, that level where someone comes in, a actual apartment vertical builder, and lays out, the landscape
Okay.
plan, the lighting plan, the exact building count, all those things, almost like the prior discussion. This
Yes.
is just more an extension of a box of zoning, and they will come in and give you full details on everything like that.
So that'll be another plan.
Right. Now, we already have, though, all the requirements for all the landscaping and buffers and things in the master agreement that anyone has to meet coming in to build. So that's all handled, but their exact site plan, on the question you're asking, they will come in front of you.
Okay. All right, let's continue. Now, Rick Any more questions?
Okay, so it says where it says phase 6 final,
Yeah.
you got, what, 5 buildings, and then east of that is empty, will you be putting up?
East of that is not empty, we just don't have a design for it. East of that continues to be the same use as currently approval, which will be residential storage to support all the tied-in units within the neighborhood. So the neat thing about that location for that is it's under power lines, which, you can't ask for really a better buffer in it. There's nothing, and you're surrounded by a little bit of wetlands, so it's really an optimal place for that kind of product.
Commercial's mainly gonna be storage, or?
So if you imagine, the zoning that's in place applies for small office in the corner and some light, like contractor warehouse type space, which we need badly in this market. All those spaces, the big, was it Crown, that did the larger product and did tax abatement down in Crown Point? Crown East is mostly built out. And given the long-term plan for development in this corridor now, especially given, as you, I believe, know, we've purchased a significant parcel on the west side of Whitcomb to work with you. This is kind of a master plan of, hey, let's take care of the residents we're talking about bringing here and provide as many services on site as possible.
Okay, no further.
Okay, Leona?
No
What-
questions, everybody.
You have no questions? Are you studying the plan good?
Yes, I am,
This is our
ma'am.
ward.
Are
Okay,
you gonna give a quiz, Madam President? You're asking
You
everybody
would think.
if they're studying the plans.
I want to make sure that they know what we're talking about. This is our ward.
Yes, I
Ward
know
4, Chris.
Yes.
What do you think?
No, I think it looks good. I mean, I understand what you're here for tonight, and,
Yeah.
and everything that has been asked has been answered, and I have no questions.
Very good. Sean Pettit, any questions? Oh, you're with us too. Good.
With you.
You studied it.
I've known
You read
Randy
it.
a long time. I trust Randy's.
I know Sean seen it in his dream.
I
Okay.
trust Randy's.
Yeah. I have to say, Randy's got a good development there. Boy. Okay, Sheila, do you have anything to report on it?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Petitioner is requesting final plan unit development for Phase 6 of Liberty Estates on 28.25 acres in a plan unit development zoning district. The recommended PUD modifications include combining Phase 6 and 7 R5 zoning to expand into Phase 6, increase the apartments units to 500 from 400, remove approximately 9 flex buildings on the north portion of the current Phase 6, and relocate the pylon signs and additional pylon sign for Phase 7. There was also discussion regarding the relocation of the 10-acre park.
Okay, very good.
And if I could comment on the park, we're not
Sure.
bringing that in for your discussion tonight. I understand there was some more feedback and global discussion before we come to talk about that.
Okay. Steve and Bob, questions, comments, or what do you have?
So you're gonna dump another, well, just say every home has 2 cars. Okay,
Okay.
so you're dumping another 200 vehicles a day out
Onto-
on our roadways.
onto
Is that-
Whitcomb.
Onto Whitcomb. So
Correct,
is that gonna
directly.
warrant, is that gonna raise to the level where we're gonna need another traffic study and possible more infrastructure from you along Whitcomb?
We have,
I'm
in
just
talking, in talking to our engineers and in sharing our use plan with your outside engineers, we don't see any meaningful impact from that quantity, especially given the project that we're mutually discussing along Whitcomb.
Okay.
I mean,
that it?
the neat thing about this is our effort is being coordinated with the town infrastructurally and looking at traffic and looking at use, best uses, and asking every member here, please, for your best ideas, because now we're up to 350 acres.
Anything else, Steve or Bob?
Go ahead, Bob.
I don't have anything else at this time.
Okay. Then at this time, I am going to ask for a motion to approve this final planned unit development, Phase 6, on 28.25 acres, and a PUD zoning district, commercial zoning district.
Is it public meeting? Do you gotta ask 3 times or no? I mean, there's
This is-
nobody here, but
this
I'm
is
just
a-
saying, do you?
I'm asking
This is
for a
not
motion.
advertising. This
This
is
is-
Oh,
just
you
the
mean you-
final.
This is a final, this isn't advertised.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, can I have a motion to what I just said?
A motion.
I'll second Chris's motion.
Okay, Chris Mellon made the motion to approve this, here we go again, this final planned unit development, Phase 6 on 28.25 acres in a planned unit development zoning district, the purpose to a commercial development, and was seconded by Sean Pettit. Okay, do we need a vote from all the
Oh, yeah.
members? Okay, voice vote. Chris, call the name.
Mr. Rich? Yes. Mr. Holtz?
Yes.
Ms. Chandler Felton?
Aye.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I myself am a yes, and Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
That's 6 yeses, Madam Chairman.
Okay, motion approved with 6 yeses and no nos. Okay, you're on your way, Randy.
One more question, if I may. Our second request, I believe it would require, and I obviously defer to legal, was an amended Phase 5 and 7 with the changes that we just discussed.
Oh, you want another motion on the amended?
Yes,
5 and 7.
yes.
Okay, could I have a motion on what Mr. Hall is requesting?
So we're adding, I'll make a motion for discussion,
Okay.
Madam President.
What'd you say?
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Oh, discussion. Well, I think Rick is ready to ask a question.
Luke, second? Yep. Okay. So I have a motion and a second, now we can have discussion.
Okay, Rick, what was your question? No, you seem to be.
I know,
in limbo
I
there.
thought that's what we voted on, was to combine 5.
That's kind of what I thought too, Randy. I'm
Well,
with Rick.
the
We-
line.
You know
We
what?
reduced
Question is-
6 and took the land that was being reduced from 6 and put it into 5 and 7. So to council, how this ordinance is going to get written, because again, with a final PUD, it's coming to Leona Margie and I at the council. When that ordinance is written, you and Svetnov, I don't know. Am I missing something? Rick, are you
Yeah, I mean, I thought we combined 5 and 7
That's what I
and
thought.
reduced 6 all at the same time.
Yes, that was my request, and respectfully, what I heard the motion to be was only an approval of final Phase 6 versus including the amendment to 5 and 7, and that was my question.
then,
Well, then I think our first motion. could
should we have
go
Chris
through.
amend the motion and re-vote?
I would
Counsel?
amend and
Counselor?
vote, or I would want somebody to do a new motion.
Like Randy is saying.
Encompassing.
Okay, Chris,
The 5
do
and
you
7.
understand the new motion now?
Yeah, I understood it. That's why I was wondering why we didn't, I didn't know if we were going to have a second vote
Well,
on
I thought
if
it
there was-
involved everything, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, no,
Go on.
So did I.
No, I didn't. So then-
Okay, you have to do another motion now on the final 5.
5 and 7.
5 and 7,
I'll make a motion
for what?
for 5 and 7, for,
I'll second.
Do we want to call it 5?
So
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by
Do you want
Mr.
to
Chris
call it
Mellon.
Lot 5?
it should be,
A what, sir?
Do you want to call it Lot 5?
no, it
Phase 5.
Phase
should
5,
be Phase 6.
Phase
No,
5
amendments
and
to
7.
5 and
It's now going to be
7.
called Phase 5 only.
no, wait. Sheila, explain it, please.
They asked for a final PUD for Phase 6, but when they came in, they wanted us to amend some of the parts of 5 and 7.
5 and 7.
So the vote should probably be final PUD for Phase 6 with the amendments to Phase 5 and 7.
Which increases the area of 5 and 7.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, Sheila, did you want to pass that all on to Chris now to make that
No.
motion?
I would,
Phases 5 and 7 to be amended.
Declan Levitt.
Yes, I am.
What's Sheila say?
Yeah, what Sheila had just expressed.
Yes, can I make a motion for what Sheila had just expressed?
I think that's great.
Is that okay? Is that
Yes,
okay, legal?
All right.
very good.
Is Le-
Could I have a second?
Second.
And there's a second by Miss Leona Felton? What's the last name?
Chandler Felton.
Oh, Chandler Felton. Okay, second by Miss Leona Chandler Felton. All in favor?
Well, I think we have to do the
Oh,
individual
the
again.
individual vote.
Hey, roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call vote, please, Chris.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mr. Holtz,
And my understanding is 5 and 7 will be
Amended.
amended.
amended,
bigger.
but at the same time, the lines have not been determined.
Between those two phases, yes, sir.
So 5 could get smaller and 7 could get larger,
They're
or,
the exact same use.
no, I realize the same use.
Okay, so yes, the line between them, we will have to come back and actually establish that line when we do final.
Right.
So you'll actually, get that detail.
This is in the plan right now.
Yeah, this is,
Okay. Leona?
aye. Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I myself am a yes. Mr. Pettit?
Confused?
What?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Motion approved
Six yes,
by
Madam
6.
Chairman.
I didn't know we could get fog in 89-degree weather, Randy, with air conditioning.
I'm slipping.
Okay, Randy,
Chris is-
are you happy?
Thank you
Chris has
for your
got a
time.
long day.
Appreciate it.
I was thinking if I have to repeat what Sheila said.
So, no,
need to
I
take
will
the
make sure that.
Well, anyway,
that
you
Joe
understood the.
Yes, I
process.
understood
Let
exactly.
I know you
I will
did.
make sure that
Get
Joe
with Joe and
reflects
Sheila and write the ordinance, Randy, so
and
we have this
reflected in the
correct.
ordinance.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you.
With that, Madam President, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Thank you, adjourn, thank you. Second?
Aye.
There you go.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
You know Svetinovsky won't know if we,
All in favor? Aye. Well,
Aye.
we don't have sweating off tonight. We have this very intelligent woman here. Okay. What school did you graduate from?